Welcome, I'm Tom Laux, your host for Community Connections, a local news magazine that highlights the activities, people, conversations, and events that mean most to you in Southwood County. On today's program, we'll learn more about recycling in the city of Wisconsin Rapids, visit an area attraction in Southwood County, learn how the city of Wisconsin Rapids is going to help serve the public more efficiently, take a tour of a local kitchen that will help benefit a program for Riverview Hospital's Auxiliary. We'll provide you with highlights of upcoming programmings airing on RCCA during the month of June. So please stay tuned with us during the next half hour and find out more about Southwood County area.
Hello and welcome to Wisconsin Rapids Recycling Information. I'm Jim Borski, the Public Works Superintendent for the City of Wisconsin Rapids. We collect your recycling if you are a city resident and you live in a single family home. There's been some recent changes in recycling and what's allowed to be put in your recycling bin, and we're trying to get that word out to people. One of the things, the major change is the number and types of plastics they'll now accept. If you recall, back years ago when recycling started, we could only accept 1 and 2 plastic bottles. Examples of those, here's a 1, here's a 2. Nowadays, there are markets for plastics. From what I was told at the processing center, a lot of the markets are in China, but our recycling processor does want us to collect 1 through 7 plastics, so the city is now accepting 1 through 7 plastics. That should increase the amount of material we can take to the processor and reduce the amount of material we take to the landfill. And I'll show you some examples of the new plastics. I don't have all of them, unfortunately, but I do have a few. Like I said, the number 1 plastics mainly are plastic bottles. They can be clear, they can be brown, they can be green, but on the bottom there will be the recycling emblem and a 1 inside that emblem. Those are and always have been recyclable. The question I don't know is the cap, is that recyclable? A lot of people throw their cap away with the bottle. We were told years ago to get rid of the cap, throw it in the garbage. That way the plastic could be crushed and they could deliver more in a load. But most places accept it even with the cap on. So I guess there's no right or wrong, cap on, cap off, it doesn't matter. A new thing in the number 1 plastics is an item like this. This is a number 1, the emblem's stamped on the bottom. Years ago we wouldn't accept these because it wasn't a blown plastic, a number 1 blown plastic, and the resin was somewhat different. Nowadays this plastic, there is a market for these, so these can now go in your recycling container. And like most recyclables, it just has to be empty and no food attached to it. So dry, empty. That's a number 1. Number 2 plastics, the most common number 2 is a detergent bottle. Laundry soap comes in a number 2. It's got the 2 emblem on the bottom. Another real common number 2 is a milk jug. And an interesting thing, at the processor where our material goes up to Portage County, they separate these 2 items, and there's a different market for milk jugs than there is for these, and it's got to do with the amount of coloring they put in the container. Evidently, the milk jugs are a natural color resin and they're more valuable, but either way, both of them are recyclable. It doesn't matter if they're blue or green or whatever, just so they have the number 2 emblem in the recycling logo on the bottom. Another number 2 bottle is this gasoline additive, and in the past, we've always told people if it's motor oil or something auto-related, petroleum-related, throw it in the garbage. But since this bottle it cleans out really well, there's no residue left inside it, it evaporates once it's opened, this is recyclable. A motor oil bottle, on the other hand, is not. Don't put out your quart motor oil bottles because they're not clean, and when they melt that resin down, it's got the motor oil left in there, so they don't want those. Those are still garbage. But all number 2s. And there are some number 2s that aren't just bottles. So anything with a number 2 on the bottom, if it's a Tupperware type bowl, Cool Whip type bowl, and it has a 2 in the recycling emblem, that is now recyclable. Unfortunately, I didn't bring along any examples of 3 and 4 plastics. I'm not sure, but I think ketchup bottles, a lot of that milky or colored plastic is a number 4. So check the bottom of the container, see if it has a 4 symbol in the 4 number in the recycling symbol. If it is, and you can get it cleaned out fairly easily, it can go in the recycling. These are some number 5s. This is a soda cup. Check the bottom. There is a 5 in the recycling emblem. Years ago, we wouldn't accept this in recycling. We do now. This also is a number 5. It's a tub, but the recycling emblem is there with a 5 in it, so this is now acceptable in recycling. Same thing with this. This, I think, probably had a rotisserie chicken in it or something like that. It is clean. The people who put it out took the time to clean it. It's got the 5 symbol on the bottom. It's recyclable. This red cup is a 6. It has the recycling emblem on the bottom. It's recyclable. For years, these were just thrown in the garbage. That's what we wanted people to do with them. Nowadays, they're acceptable. Rinse them out, dry them out. That's all you have to do. All of these, same thing. Make sure they're clean. Food residue is the worst thing. Milk jugs, all you have to do is tip them upside down in your sink for a minute or two, and all the milk and whatever will come out of them. That way you don't get that old milk in the bottom, turns all rancid. So if they're dry and empty, they're ready. Tin cans, of course, always were recyclable. Key to this, take the label off, recycle the paper label, and clean it out. If it's full of soup or other food type material, it needs to be rinsed out. You don't have to put it in the dishwasher or wash it in the sink or anything. Just clean, dry, no food left in it. Of course, aluminum cans always were recyclable, still will be. There's recycling centers in town that'll pay you for them if you want to go that route. Otherwise, you can put it out in your recycling bin. Glass, bottles, jars. This glass bottle is recyclable. So is the tin cap, the lid is. Separate them though, and put the lid in with the rest of your like tin cans or other material, and then the glass bottle can go through the processing line without the tin attached to it. This is another example of a glass bottle. And again, on the plastic caps, I don't know if there's any value to these or not. I would suggest throwing the plastic cap away. You don't have to worry about the neck ring. Years ago, we were worried about that because we thought all the glass would be crushed, reheated, and remolded into new bottles. That hasn't turned out to work so well, mainly because these neck rings can contaminate a whole load of glass. They need just pure glass, and things like plastic neck rings, metal neck rings were not good for the batch. So I think most glass nowadays gets crushed and used for road gravel or different aggregate type materials. But like I said, the metal caps off a glass bottle can be recycled. I'd put them right in with the tin. And I think that pretty much covers what we call container products. The one separation of our 2 separations in the city for recycling are all these container products can be grouped together in a brown paper bag or thrown loose in your bin. And then we have another separation for paper products. That's the only separation we require in the city. No paper mixed in with all this stuff. It has to be a separation between paper products and container products.
Next month on Community Connections, we'll speak with Jim Borski about cardboard recycling rules.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Stotts. I'm 15 years old. I love Wisconsin Rapids, and one of the best parts about it is the BMX track. I love BMX because you gotta go out every race, put your best effort forward, do the best you can. It's all you, all the time, not a team sport. You don't gotta rely on anyone else. I love BMX also because I like to jump a lot of big things, you know, going fast, hitting a lot of speed. It's fun. And I'm happy that we have nationals coming up this year, and we've held many state championships, and I'm hoping to win something this year.
Under the leadership of Wisconsin Rapids Mayor Zach Vruwink, the city is taking the next step listed in the State of the City report. Later this summer, City of Wisconsin Rapids department heads will be learning a program called Lean Six Sigma, which is an efficiency program. In this segment, I'll be introducing the concept in an interview with Chris Spranger. He's an expert in Lean Six Sigma from Riverview Hospital, and you'll hear from Stevens Point Mayor Andrew Halverson about how their city is benefiting from the program. Chris, please define the program.
Sure. Lean Six Sigma, although it sounds fancy, really lean, what it talks about is examining work processes from end to end. So it's not just the individual work task that one person might be doing, but all of the work tasks that come into play with satisfying a customer need. So with lean, what you're trying to do is reduce the amount of time it takes to turn around whatever you're trying to do, as well as the amount of resources that it takes to accomplish that. The city, I think, can benefit And from the literature that I've read, most cities can benefit from starting with any permitting or licensing process because number one, it's pretty visible to the citizens, whether you want a building permit, bartender license, whatever that might be. You come in with an application and then usually it's days, sometimes weeks before you get that back. Well, the person that's coming in, it's obviously important for them to get that approved for whatever they need to move forward with. Again, if it's a bartender license or if it's a building permit, time is of the essence. So the city of Wisconsin Rapids can look at those work processes and say, okay, from when the customer walks in until they hand off their application or whatever starts that process, what are all the things that we do? What are all the handoffs? What are all the approvals? Where is this thing traveling and why is it taking so long?
This program isn't just geared towards government agencies. Riverview Hospital and Midstate are two local organizations that are currently going through the process. Chris, tell us a little bit about those organizations.
This started, as you maybe know by now, the manufacturing industry many years ago, and over time have been perfected on the assembly lines through GE, Motorola, and Toyota. But recently, in the early 2000s, it moved into the banking industry with companies like Bank of America, and also into the healthcare industry. And one prime example of that is ThedaCare over in the Fox Valley. So, and obviously more recently now, it's starting to work its way into government entities. One of the first organizations to really take that on was the city of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and using these philosophies. So realistically, Lean and Six Sigma are not just manufacturing philosophies, but these are really business improvement philosophies, and it's really starting to catch on in service and other industries at this point.
After city department personnel take the training, they're categorized in certain levels like karate. What do those levels mean?
It's similar to, and General Electric was the one that created this when they really deployed these philosophies organization-wide. But similar to belts in karate, as you move up the levels, you attain higher skills and analytical techniques, which are a part of the whole Lean Six Sigma body of knowledge. So at the top are master black belts, which act as deployment experts, where we're going to focus our resources, how we're going to pick projects. Below that are black belts, which are trained on highly sophisticated analytical techniques, regression analysis, things like that. Green belts are trained as our project facilitators. So those are the ones that are planning the projects, facilitating these cross-functional teams. They're mapping out work processes on the wall so the project can be worked on. And then many organizations, as Riverview has done, creates a yellow belt level as well, where staff members get 2 days of training, which just tells those people and shows them the base tools in the Lean Six Sigma package and gets them familiar to it and has them work through some activities so they can see how the process works.
The city of Stevens Point is now going through this transformation process to become more efficient on the way the city does business. Stevens Point Mayor Andrew Halverson explains why they chose this route.
The interesting part for us is when we realized that there was an emergence in applying the Lean Six Sigma principles from manufacturing, of course, which was the derivation of Lean Six Sigma coming out of the Toyota model of manufacturing. We realized, as I also, through my serving on the board of directors of Ministry Healthcare St. Michael's Hospital, also saw how Lean Six Sigma was able to be applied to healthcare. Understood that there were very few governments in the country that were starting to embrace Lean Six Sigma as a way in which to find efficiencies. In 2011, I wanted to move in that direction, and through 2012 was able to accomplish that through the partnership with Mr. Spranger. We also at that point had hired a new emergency management director for the city by the name of Sally McGinty. She came out of the U.S. Navy as a former commander and also was Green Belt trained, who had done several Lean Six Sigma projects that she was working on along with black belts in the Navy. So we had her training initially. We also understood that we wanted to prioritize Green Belt training for all of our department heads as well as our mid-level managers, including myself, to be able to gain that understanding. Since then, we are now all Green Belt certified. We have 2 key projects that we're working on. One is a payroll project. Every department has their own paperwork. Every other department is doing it by hand. Of course, in this day and age, that's grossly inefficient. What's important for us, and I'm sure a lot of your employees in Rapids can understand this, in many instances, for years in government, all of our departments were all siloed. Public Works doesn't talk to water. In fact, in Rapids, it's even different because you have a separate utility. I hope that's amusing for the Public Works employees who are watching this. The key for us is we can't have silos and a variety of different processes through one organization. The more that you can simplify and ultimately guarantee that whatever you do is the same at all times will gain you the efficiencies that we wanted to look at.
Cities like Stevens Point are implementing these kinds of business models to stay competitive and accountable to the public. Why is it so important for local governments to work like a business does?
As we started this process back in 2011, and really the bulk of the work was done in 2012, I personally never looked at this as a dollar-saving event. I looked at it a little bit differently, and I looked at it as an hour-saving event. For years and years and years, governments have had to not spend. We didn't have the ability to tax. We've had to eliminate positions. We are probably 15 positions down just in the last 10 years citywide. And that, of course, is in several different departments. But when that happens, you can't do what you did years ago. You can't do and accomplish on behalf of the citizens that you represent the mission of the city. The only way that you can get around that is by finding more efficiency, using the employees that you have to the best of their ability to be able to do more. It's not about saving time to free up money to eliminate positions. It's about finding time to free up more hours for folks to be able to do what they haven't been able to get done for several years because of our reductions. That's the way in which I think government can best leverage these principles to find those efficiencies, find the smallest amount of steps, and the most precise way to do it to guarantee precision in the outcome and speed of the process to get to the outcome. In my opinion, that's the greatest element that Lean Six Sigma can bring about to governmental change. The interesting and, in my opinion, the methodical way which frustrated so many of our managers and department heads in the beginning was that it's so basic, but yet something that you never use as a toolkit to figure something out. Do you mean I actually have to lay something out? I pick up a pencil, I pull out the sheet of paper, I write on it, and then I put it in this box, which puts it in that box? Yeah. It's the simplicity of using those skills that shows you how many steps actually goes into doing something. Now that sounds like kindergarten work, but it's the simplicity and the methodical way that you lay it out that helps you see where there are pinch points, helps you see where there is at least the high likelihood of error, and then it shows you how you can simplify that process stream to ease up those steps and gain the precision of the Six Sigma component of the Lean Six Sigma principle. Make sure they understand it's not a taekwondo thing or a karate thing, number one. Everyone thinks that it is when you start to talk about green belt, black belt. Explain what Lean Six Sigma is. Lean and Six Sigma are two different principles. They're used interchangeably all the time and sometimes wrong. Six Sigma, for those of us who have had the wonderful joy of studying statistics, understand that as you go out on your bell curve, the sigmas that you go out eventually to Six Sigma notations and those standard deviations, when you get to 6, is perfect. Well, you can never do everything perfect. That will never happen. Regardless of any process that you work toward, you cannot get it perfect. What you can do is use these steps to analyze the precision of getting something done correctly and as precisely as you can, as often as you can, with as little steps, lean component as possible. And that's really what it is. It's taking the least steps possible on getting something done that you can and ensuring that it's done as correctly, repetitively as you can do it.
In the next episode, debuting on June 15th, Mayor Halverson shares how certain departments are now using the Lean Six Sigma program. We'll also hear from Mayor Vruwink on how the City of Wisconsin Rapids is going to begin their process with Lean Six Sigma. You can stay updated with River City's Community Access TV by a live stream or on demand at wrpeg.org. Keep a lookout throughout the month for a variety of original programming produced by our staff and local volunteers. This month includes Wisconsin Rapids City Band and high school concerts produced by RCCA volunteer David Ballerstein. Religious programs are also provided by local church volunteers. Stay informed to local government issues with Wood County Board Chairman Lance Plimmel and Mayor Zachary Vruwink on Carl Hilke's Morning Magazine on WFHR. We'll also provide a City of Wisconsin Rapids Committee, Common Council, Wood County Board, Waterworks and Lighting Commission, Nakusa, Port Edwards, and Wisconsin Rapids Public School Board educational meetings. You can become more informed about your community by a new Snapshot segment hosted by Tom Laux. These segments will feature a 2-minute spotlight on interesting people and events in South Wood County. So enjoy the diversity of local programming only offered on your own River City's Community Access station.
Kitchen Prescriptions is a new fundraiser for the Riverview Hospital Auxiliary. It is a tour of 6 kitchens in Wisconsin Rapids, all very different from one another, all different in style and the different decorations, size. So that is one component of Kitchen Prescriptions. The next component is we have a wonderful lunch, an optional lunch really, at Bullseye Country Club, which will be featuring items from our new cookbook, Recipes from the Heart. What will be served that day is will be items from the cookbook that are recipes put in there. So it'll be kind of a little threefold day of fun for people that enjoy their kitchens and cooking and getting new recipes. It'll take place Saturday, June 15th, and the kitchens will be open from 9:30 in the morning until 3:30. And you can buy tickets at the door. However, we are encouraging people to buy tickets ahead of time. Ticket prices ahead of time are $15. At the door, they'll be $20. If you are interested in the combination, which means the tour and the lunch, that must be purchased ahead of time by June 7th, and that combination ticket is $25. Tickets are available at 3 locations in Wisconsin Rapids. You can buy them at the Riverview Hospital gift shop, at Solaris, and also at Daily Drug. This is Carol's kitchen, and she is one of the very kind people that has opened up her home to us for the event. I think this is a perfect example of what someone can do. Carol has downsized to a condo, but it is beautiful. And it's a perfect example of, even though you might have downsized, you still have lots of room for creative expression and entertaining. And I think this is a great example of one of our kitchens and the creativity that the homeowners are going to express that day.
Well, this was a real kind of a surprise for me. When this had been 2 rooms, we took the wall down and I said, what am I going to do with my vacuum cleaner? Because I lost a closet. And the custom cabinets designed this cabinet for me. And sure enough, there's my vacuum cleaner. But not only the vacuum cleaner, but more important perhaps, I have places for my good dishes with pull-out shelves so they're easy to reach. Glassware up here. And this is a pantry cabinet, also with the pull-out shelves. But a complete surprise to me, and I think is wonderful, is I have all these drawers to accommodate my linens. So it's a complete setup. This is the first unit that was built in our complex. So right now it's probably about 22 years old. So 6 years ago, the appliances needed replacing. And of course, stainless steel was the newest thing and something I didn't have before. So this is, these I bought together. However, they're not all the same brand. But as long as the salesman showed me, as long as the handles match, they'll look coordinated. One thing that my decorator told me, be sure and order a cabinet depth refrigerator so it doesn't project any further into the room. The cabinets themselves are installed an inch lower than ordinary because I'm such a short person, and it helps me reach the second drawer. My decorator in Milwaukee called me up one day and said, I was looking for wallpaper as somebody else, and I saw this wallpaper. It's called Miss Pitty Pat's Check. And he said, that would be perfect in your room with your cabinet finish. By the way, this is maple, antique maple finish, because I wanted a country French look. And then they designed, between the two of them, back and forth, from custom cabinets and my decorator, with faxing things back and forth, they designed the counter with space for 3 people. And this too has cabinets all the way around. This one is a shallow one I use for my cookbooks. And around here, more pull-outs. And I've got, this is a complete baking system. So utensils here, and the baking pans, measuring cups, and things in this cabinet.
So we were looking for something new that hadn't been done in Wisconsin Rapids. I know kitchen tours have been done very successfully in other communities. So that's sort of where it evolved from. We had great response from the very beginning. Because the hospital is 100 years old this year, we're trying to feature kitchens in the Riverview Hospital community, meaning the neighborhood. And interestingly enough, one of the houses is actually 100 years old. One of the kitchens is 100 years old that will be in the tour. So that's sort of how it evolved, was just looking for a way to create something new and interesting for the people of Rapids to benefit the hospital.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Community Connections, our monthly news magazine that highlights the activities, people, conversations, and events that mean most to you in Southwood County. You can view this episode anytime on demand on wrpeg.org. While visiting our website, you'll find a weekly schedule of programs and our Facebook link, along with updated meetings and much more. If you'd like to be a guest on Community Connections, please contact me at tlucks@wirapids.org or call RCCA at 715-423-0441. We thank Wisconsin Rapids cable subscribers on Solaris Channel 3 and Charter 985 and 96 for supporting River City's community access, along with our friends from Nakusa for supporting the Nakusa Common Council program. Our goal here at River City's Community Access is to provide a medium for information and promotion serving the Wisconsin Rapids community. Next month, we'll have a new Community Connections program. In the meantime, please inform family and friends to stay updated with community events. Until next time, take care.